Hey everyone, welcome back into BetSports Golf here for the 2024 Valspar Championship at Innisbrook Resorts Copperhead Course. Andy, we talked about it last week. Felt like maybe what we saw at Bay Hill was different. Turns out we were right. Scotty, just absolute clinic. PGA Tour got a massive win with the players. What's going on, buddy?
Ooh. Yeah, really. It's crazy too, the timing of it, like how it finished, and then like 30 seconds later we had the selection show start. Like it was intense. I mean, it depends how far back you want to go. I guess it depends who you bet on,
Sure.
which guy you had that didn't win, or if you had some Scotty. But I mean, the whole back nine. And honestly, I can't remember what the whole number it was, but there was that par three. He put one within range. And honestly, for the PGA and everyone involved, and I'm glad I cashed my Scotty tickets, but it's probably good that he missed that putt. That was very makeable. Like it would have, I mean, we would have been further down the road and there would have been a lot less drama because, I mean, Wyndham has it in the bag for sure to make those long iron shots. Obviously, Xander had a couple of nice shots. That second shot on the 5 on 16. The high leverage putts that you get, the one you saw or you heard off air, or you didn't get to see it, you had to hear it because for some reason, I wasn't watching the Peacock version until I had to. I was just watching like the featured groups in one, and I was just watching 17 on another screen. So like once everyone got through 17, I'm like, oh shit. Like I'm kind of trying. Like I don't have like a live feed of what's going on right now. I had to figure out like what channel is this on because I was watching on Hulu. Like I need to figure out. So I pull up ESPN Plus. I pull up Paramount. I'm like, who has this? I had to do the Google. I'm like, oh shit, I got to open up Peacock here. So I got it open. Watched. Obviously, 18 was very dramatic. I mean, it was right in that range where it isn't like if he'd have stuck 1 to 4 feet. It's like, all right, let's get ready for a playoff. It was right in that middling range where it wasn't Sanders' putt that, this shit just ain't going. This happens once a year where, like Nick Taylor or gosh, you remember the Harold Varner putt over in over in the Middle East where he made like an 80-footer. These things can happen, but Wyndham's putt was like, as far as drama goes, it was right in that perfect range. He'd left that eagle putt short. So you saw how hard he jammed his putt on 17. And I think the caddy was just, same thing, buddy. Just give it hell. Because that looked pretty center cut. In the slow-mo, it was half down. Like, it was pretty much 50% down. It's about as good as it gets as far as late drama.
It was great. They both went at 17. No one was going at that flag on 17, and they both did. Obviously, Xander missed his 7-footer. That gets a little bit trickier because, that putt on 18 needs a little bit less. But just the fact that they even went for it, like everyone was just hanging out to the left, leaving themselves basically a lag putt for par to walk off. But like to go at the pin was awesome drama too. Yeah, it was I think everything that you would want with like, I hate that we keep doing this. Why everything that I see from like Golf Digest or like no offense to our friends over there, but like Brian Harmon can hang with the big boys, and it's like, good Lord, the dude just won the Open Championship. I know he's like
he's a major winner.
But like, it's such a like backhanded compliment. Like I know he's short and small, but it's just like a size thing. It's like, it's so whatever, right? Harmon's a great fit. We had Harmon tickets too, which were long at 150. He had multiple top 10s there since the redesign. Like him being in the mix is not surprising. Wyndham Clark has been, top 5, top 10 in the world for a solid bit here. Has won some big boy golf tournaments. Yeah, he's the defending U.S. Open champ. Great theater, and for Scotty to muscle through with what happened Friday, Saturday with the next stuff, like pretty cool stuff.
I guess he did a little bit with the the tee shots on 16 and 18, but I kind of just expected Xander to dunk it on 17. Like just his history, I know we shouldn't pick on him because he played really, really good golf for 4 days, but the fact that it's like he kind of has to go for this. Like, he isn't this guy who has lucked his way into the final group of the biggest purse of the year outside of the playoffs. This is a bigger purse than the majors. This is a ton of money. It isn't a guy that has to think about like, I can't have a 6 here because it'll cost me, 10 times what I've made in my career so far. He's set. He can go for it. I think that all those guys have had some big paydays. Like, it's fun. They don't have to have that little thing nagging at them in the back of the mind. Like, man, what if I go in the water and I finish 5th and this cost me like $2 million?
Sure.
Like they went for it, and you knew they were going to, which was great. And I really just expected Xander's ball to be wet. So for him to throw that dart was awesome. Good. It's fun just having a good ending, like a good tournament.
1,000%.
Even though, like, if you'd have told me Scotty shoots 20 under, I'd be like, oh no, like this tournament sucked ass then, because it was expected to be, somewhere in the mid-teens, like low to mid-teens. I thought 14, 15 was a reasonable kind of estimate projection for this tournament. So if you'd told me Scotty shot 20 under, I would have said like Sunday sucked. It was no fun. So it was strange. It did play a little easier. That's kind of our theme for the year. Maybe, and we'll kick it over to Copperhead and Innisbrook here. Maybe we finally get the cure for that, because maybe a good way to start when we talk about this course. Some of the changes, some of the agronomic changes they made, because essentially we're going to the same course with less water danger. So you say,
Sure.
well, how's it going to get tougher then? Because it's all the same greens, or all the same grasses. We're still in that part of the year where, it's dormant. We have the overseed. It's the same kind of rough, pretty much the same height rough. So, I mean, maybe talk about what makes this a tough course.
Yeah, so we are in the final leg of the Florida Swing, and as Andy mentioned, there were some changes here going into last season's event, and the season before, Sam Burns won at like 17 under. Well, last year, our leaders won, Taylor Moore at 10 under. So the big change came in where the rough basically went from 3 to almost 4 by the time you get to like the weekends, because they're not going to touch it. It's going to be thickened at 4. They also brought kind of the apron in around the greens as well and grew that up a little bit too. Shout out to the 3M Open from Andy's Golf Cup, or cup from Coffee Cup. But yeah, they made it a little bit harder for some of the, like, you could use that Texas wedge around here, because there's a lot of like long approach shots. I think like almost 70% of your approach shots into the greens here are from 175 plus. So like, it's hard to hold these greens. You have to be able to have high ball flight. So like distance does matter, but there's a lot of forced layups here. So it's a challenging course. As you mentioned, we're still on those Poa Triv greens, which are unique to a handful of courses, one of which was last week at Sawgrass, Harbor Town, San Antonio, PGA West, where we were a few weeks ago. This is not Bermuda. This is not California Poa. Poa Trivialis, very unique. So looking at putting splits, those things matter quite a bit. Yeah. A lot of people, the players will tell you it feels a lot more like a Carolina course with some of the tree line stuff, where it's less open, less water maybe than a little bit of some of the Florida stuff. But again, danger all over the place. And obviously the drinking game of the week is the Snake Pit, which is your closing stretch here, the final 3, with a very difficult par 3 kind of sandwich in between some very stretching par 4s. And that's kind of the unique layout here too. We have an extra par 3. We have 5 of them this week. They're all 195 plus. They all play almost to a scoring average of 4. It is a take your medicine on the 3s and 4s this week. Hopefully you can make some damage on the 5s and just kind of survive and keep away from the big numbers.
Yeah, my notes, you pretty much covered everything. Maybe a little bit of the elevation changes. Just think about anytime you've golfed and had a nasty uphill shot or even a downhill shot. Downhill shots, these guys have pro caddies and they're professional golfers, so it's not the same, but it still becomes difficult to judge some of these downhill shots. So the elevation change definitely come into play. You have the blind shots, you have the dog legs, the double dog legs. Like Ryan said, you have the 5 par 3s, and there's not an easy one. They're all very difficult. They're all very long. You do have to score on the 5s. The water hazards don't come into play like obviously other Florida courses. They exist, but the real hazards do become being out of position on a dog leg. finding yourself in the rough because these fairways are so narrow. And the greens are different after the changes they made, but they're still difficult to hit. And the rough is right there.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not, I ended up in this, shaved runoff area. I'm in this collection area. No, you're in the rough. You're in 4-inch rough, Pertinier. We'll see what they do for the mowing this weekend, but it's I think 3 3/4 is what the height was last year. I'm not sure how fast that grows. If we can get up to 4 inches over the weekend, probably doesn't take that much to get some grass growing this time of year. So there's a lot of ways to get in trouble. There's a lot of longer holes and longer par threes, and you do have to be strategic because you can't overpower it. And again, some of the issues become because you have to club down, because you have these forced layups, these spots where you can't overpower a dog leg and you have to, be aiming at a certain area, leaving you with difficult approach shots. So it is like hit your fairways, hit your greens. It's the easiest, simplest thing to say, but there's some guys that don't have that in the bag. Like they don't have hitting, 12, 13 fairways on a tough course like this in their bag. And if they do, it's because they club down immensely. And then do they have 8 or 9 200-yard iron shots in their bag that they bust out? There's some bigger names here. And there are some guys that can do that, but man, this one is, we keep doing this. This is going to be a test. Swear to God, if somebody wins this at 20 under, I'm going to lose my mind. We're just going to switch to be a live podcast. It better be like 12. 12 is my guess.
12 is acceptable. Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. I mean, so like, I think Sawgrass played harder over the weekend. If you survived, it was soft on Thursday, Friday. I think Bay Hill, we got, Bay Hill's going to give you some water holes. They also have similar rough where they're going to grow that out and longer approaches. So similar situation, I think, to this, where why it's difficult. There's some corollary to that. But yeah, I mean, even with the clubbing down, you still have last year driving accuracy 54%, almost 4.5% below a tour average event. Driving distance below 280. We are in like Harbor Town territory now in terms of like average distance off the tee. It's about 12 yards below a tour average event. And again, 12 yards further back, and they're still hitting fairways about 5% less than normal, because the fairways pinch in quite a bit, about 26.5 yards on average width. And that's, again, almost 8, 9, 10 yards shorter or like more narrow than your average tour event. So greens at reg are hard, almost 10% below tour average as well. So like there are some natural designs here, besides the water trouble, that can kind of keep things in check. And I think, I don't know, I'm encouraged. It's a 1-year sample with these changes. And we saw it jump from like, low 20s, high teens down to 10. You were JT last year, top 10, 3 under. So, we should have a little bit more of that. We're grinding out a 71, take your even day and move on, and hopefully, make some damage on another day. Cause it's hard. It's hard to hold these greens, and you have to kind of scramble your face off a little bit. So, and a decent field, as you mentioned, like we're kind of in a unique stretch here. We are entering into the Masters final 3 weeks. We have 10 of the top 30 in the current, whatever you think of the official world golf rankings, it's where we are, but some decent guys, some guys that have won in the past, and some, familiarity. Like, I don't know how sticky that is, but I mean, before the change, Paul Casey won here back to back. Same thing with Sam Burns. So we obviously are entering kind of a new phase of Valspar. So
yeah. And last week being the players, being not only the money but the prestige, like everyone's going. Everyone did go. Anyone within the top 100 who's eligible was there. It's always going to be it's going to be tough to tell over the next few weeks what we're going to get for withdrawals. There are no signature events between the players and the Masters. I know some people probably have some sponsor responsibilities, like they're just, hey, I'm Jordan Spieth or other Longhorns, I have to go play in Texas. Like, that's just kind of how things go. That some of those guys do feel beholden to play in certain tournaments, but you're going to get 3 weeks of like, hey, here's 3 or 4 or 5 really good golfers who showed up to this one, and then it's going to get tricky, which is fun because this is where we like to live. This is where we like to bet, where we like to, find some guys in that 30, 40, 50, 60 on up range that, have the skill set, maybe haven't put it all together so many times that like have an opportunity to win this event, because there are some big names at the top. But not all the big names, not all the like. What are you gonna do?
Not Scotty. Yeah, we're kind of in that phase.
Not,
like I joked yesterday when I was doing the first look show, and I know there's definitely tied up in prisoner of the moment and hyperbole stuff. Like this, basically, like we're gonna have this right now, like Scotty and non-Scotty events. And
I mean, just watch his Sunday round, man. Like it was sick. He was like 12-1 in the morning. Yeah. And you should argue like that number should have been bigger, how far back he was. But
for sure. Oh no, for sure.
It's still Scotty Scheffler. So yeah, it is a non-Scotty event. So other people will have a chance. But there are, like you said, there are some big names here. Field wise, I don't know, like it's just we'll get into that, I guess, more when we start modeling. We can look at everyone. We don't need to go over the entire field. But full event, normal cut. So it is the full field. I think it didn't used to have to be said, it used to have one or two events that were weird. The playoffs obviously were different, but now it does need to be said, like 144 normal cut. We don't have the signature stuff. So 3 straight weeks of that before we get into the Masters, which again is, the Masters cut is the Masters cut. The old people and like the 11 guys who just don't have a great week end up going home.
A lot of the olds dropped out.
We're starting to get low on. We're starting to get low on olds.
Yeah, we lost some of the olds, but we'll get there. Coming up soon. All right, let's jump into some of the stuff that we got going on here, and let's start to see what we can do here. You can go over to the site, check out Ron's preview. There's up there again. I would throw this up toe to toe with any other preview that's out there. Just the amount of actionable data is, I think, unmatched. So definitely go check that out. You can get into a little bit more of the weeds than what Andy and I were talking about here. If you are hanging out with us for the first time, we appreciate it. Subscribe, thumbs up on the video, YouTube page, all those things go a long way in helping us as well. You can get access to all that we're doing here at BetSports Golf for really, really cheap. Now, prices are going up. Prices are going up as soon as they put that jacket on Scotty Scheffler in a couple of weeks, or whoever it ends up being. Now
that is the Butler cabin. That is when the prices go up. As soon as some people are sitting in there, 100%. We've kept prices low for like 3 years because a lot of the stuff was still in dev. We didn't have the full tool, but we are so much cheaper than everyone else. We are going to have to get closer to the industry norms for pricing on some of this stuff, and everything, all monthly, weekly, yearly is all going to go up. But
good news,
maybe not for you.
Yeah, we've held off on this.
If you're already a subscriber, or if you subscribe for any of those, monthly, weekly, yearly, before the Masters, before they put the jacket on, during the Masters even, grandfathered pricing. Honestly, I'll say forever. I'll do it. I'll say forever. If you want to do a weekly subscription for the next 10 years, I'll lock you into that $10. Monthly, whatever, if you prefer monthly, lock you into the $19.99. Same thing with yearly. If you subscribe, whatever. I'll raise prices this year. Maybe I'll do it again in 5 years. Doesn't matter. If you still recur, your recurring yearly subscription, grandfathered in. So something to think about if you've been on the fence. The prices aren't going to be this low ever again, because there's never like we're lowering all the prices. Like it's just kind of the way things go with it. Inflation. We're going to blame inflation. So, but 3 weeks basically. You have until April 15th. Is that Monday? So I think the 14th is the last day the prices will be this low. So hop in, and like Noonan said, Vivid Picks, we're still going to honor that. We still have that offer going. Sign up for an account, deposit $5, play $5. You'll get a promo code. You get the yearly for $5. It's a
pretty good deal.
Pretty good deal. Plus they match your deposit if you want to play pick'em games there. You can get a deposit match up to $250. So you get a lot of free money from them too. You get basically $250 from them, $200 from us. It's a lot of free free subscriptions and free bonus money from them as well. So check that out right on the site. The link to that will be in the show notes and in the podcast notes if you want to check it out. Our DMs are open if you have questions. And like it says at the end of the article, if you're in a state that doesn't allow Vivid, DM us. We have a secret promo code just for you because we feel bad.
Yep, and that could be you. So definitely reach out, take advantage of that. Again, this is a affiliate deal. We can't match and give you a $5 subscription. We can get aggressive in making sure that you can get access and check us out for cheap. And again, yeah, we've held off on doing this price bump till we could ensure on the tech side that we could honor what Andy's talking about and grandfather your pricing in, and we can now do that. So that is happening. Lock in now, which is just a way for us to say thank you for trying us out while we were in beta. But now that we continue to, I think, just increase and improve on the elements that are on what we think is the best tool in the space in terms of modeling golf data, we need to get a little bit more competitive from a pricing standpoint. So yeah, take advantage of it. That could still be you. Even though you weren't an OG, you could be an OG from today, and then moving forward in a couple of years, you'll be locked in when things continue to spike. So it's a great deal. And some of the things that we are adding that come with your subscription, we've done this in the past. I'm excited to get Andy's opinions because I know Andy loves to bet matchups. We have our matchup tool back up and much improved on the site. If you go into the tool section, go to the golf custom simulation section, you can price out 3 balls. You can price out head-to-heads pre-tournament. Simply go down here, add the golfer, enter the price. You can run the simulation. It'll give you the probability, your break-even odds, and if there's any EV, suggesting if you should bet it or not. Great tool. I used it this weekend when I was, away and wanted to have a little bit of a thirst for golf. This is brand new for us again. So yeah, check this out on the site. You can also mess around again, round by round, depending on how your books price it. Tie is a void, tie is a loss, all those different things. Check that out. That is up on the site under the tools section now as well. Let's model some golf, Andy.
Yeah, let's talk key stats. So we got the rabbit hole up. We're going to build a custom stats model to try to find the skill set that might play well here. But let's talk about that skill set first. Key stats here, and it's already come up a couple times. We've mentioned it. Jeff in the chat has mentioned it, like the narrow fairways. Kind of the theme for the week. Maybe it's just going to be driving accuracy. So we mentioned there's going to be some clubbing down. So some of these guys may be off the tee accuracy in places where you do club down. I guess other things in my list, long irons, and probably doing what we always do and just avoiding putting, which will be Scotty's not here, so it doesn't matter. But this will, before we even build this, I can tell you, Tony Finau is going to be too high in our model. And granted, yes, he's one of the favorites, but if we leave out putting, Tony is going to be high as well. So.
If we leave out putting, Tony Finau is number 1 in the model. Maybe Xander, depending on what we do, but yeah, that'll definitely happen. And we'll get there. I don't know if you saw Tony Finau gained strokes putting last weekend at TPC Sawgrass. So, all right, yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to go about this here this week. I think it is, it's a challenging week to model, but I think that there are a lot of different ways. How do you want to do the anchor stat? I think you can go. I think you can go a lot of ways. What are your? Have you built your model yet?
I haven't. I have. I was going to do this one first, and then I'll differentiate it a little this afternoon after I read a couple more things. Got one more podcast I want to listen to. Might go for a little after lunch walk. Try to get that in. Tee to green. It's just like it has to be, right? Yeah. Total or tee to green. Like it is either who are the good players coming in here, who's been coming in well. It could be just tee to green 2024 only instead of like the last year.
Okay. All right, that gives us a little bit of a different look.
We mentioned that last time we built one of these was
yeah.
It's tough to do that for the Sony. Like we have to look at who played well last year because there's just no telling. Some guys play swing season, some guys don't. Some guys play over in Europe a little bit here and there. It's tough to tell who's in form. But now that we're into damn near April, I think it's fine to take the 2024 results. Sure. How have you played this year? How are you trending? who is current to medium term form right now.
You can see most of these guys are getting, upwards of, mid 20s in rounds played, which I think is okay. Right, probably a little small statistically, but I think fairly relevant. So yeah, I'm fine with that and no problem with that at all. I think we should capture something from a difficult scoring condition standpoint, because I think that's where we're kind of at with this new version of this event. I think that is telling too. You can go into, sorry, I clicked that too fast for folks. You can go into this filter by condition section and you can see all these filters, just anything you could possibly want to get into. And we will get into a few of the things here, but I think difficult and very difficult scoring conditions, I think, is definitely has an application this week. So, do you want to do tee to green with this as well, or should we do strokes gained total? What are your thoughts?
I
kind of like tee to green. Okay,
we can do it twice. Of course, we're going to say the opposite thing there. I mean, you can go ball striking if you wanted.
Yeah, okay. All right, I like that's a little different. This is giving me last 12 months. We're getting some pretty small samples, so let's back out a little bit. See if we can get something from a little bit of a larger sample.
2 years.
Yeah, that gives us, I think, more relevant data of like what we're trying to actually do here. So let's see what happens here. Ball striking, last 2 years, difficult, very difficult scoring conditions. Cam Young on top, Xander, Finau, Killer Keith, Gary. Yeah, Vegas. Okay. Davis Riley's one here. Keegs has a solo second a couple years ago. Akshay. Okay. I can get down with this list. So we will go difficult scoring last 2 years. We'll add that. All right.
Which, yeah. Xander last week, trucking. I almost felt bad. I would have lost money if Xander won, but at a certain point, I do start to feel bad because he has a bunch of top fives that don't start with a 1, a bunch of seconds. So actually, I'm not going to bet on him this week, but if I lose, I guess I hope I lose to him.
I think that's fair. I did not have that level of compassion for Xander while watching the other day, but maybe now. How about off the tee? I think there's a lot of ways to go about it this week. There are, well, I did this. I'm going to show you and get your thoughts here. I went less than driver, but I looked at less than driver because you can go in here and go to off the club or off the tee club selection, off the club, less than driver. I put that in. I did something where I did less than driver in difficult scoring conditions and looked at strokes gained total. I think looking at strokes gained tee to green there as well, and not just off the tee per se, because this is also a difficult place to gain strokes off the tee as well.
I was going to say, so when you look at off the less than driver, you're talking about something that changes based off the tee. Like, hey, my tee shots are, but it's still, you're looking at the whole round of
Correct.
Just courses and rounds that we've determined are a lot of people, a majority, a certain percentage take less than driver. So even though you're thinking in your head, this is an off the tee stat, like maybe it's worth looking at approach shots at something like this, where, hey, how is this guy able to club down and put himself in a position for a good approach shot? And maybe, this guy just sucks at approach, but then good, he should rank low anyway. So I don't hate looking at a secondary stat when you're sorting for, a tee shot stat. So we're going to be looking at every round at courses where people are clubbing down. And I kind of want to look at, approach. I kind of want to look at greens and regulation, because this is a course that's going to demand good iron shots based on, were you able to club down and put yourself in a good position, a good angle? Are you able to beat these dog legs? Are you able to find the accuracy to give yourself good long iron shots to find these greens that are tough to find? So even greens and regulation is a decent stat in this. So do with it what you will, but just something I was thinking about.
I like it. Yeah, I was thinking when I was talking through it yesterday, looked at strokes gained total, but I think something in the ball striking section, whether it's tee to green, ball striking approach, I think tells a better story with what we're actually trying to do by filtering out the less than driver stuff versus just looking at, just strokes gained off the tee. So like where your head's at here. This is I'm getting a lot of the small sample guys. We'll filter out some of these guys here. We're looking at the last 2 years. It might be too large of a sample, but we can keep it. So I think some of these times I think it's better to have the longest view, but I think this is what we're trying to do here and tell this story in terms of approach in these situations, greens and reg in these situations. So let's do this. We'll add it. We'll skip. Technically, we went off the tee, but we get a green and reg less than driver. I like this. Okay. Now we'll go back to off the tee stuff. I'll close out less than driver. Again, you got to be in the fairway, you got to be in the short stuff. And even then it is hard. We saw people going less than driver, looking at number of rounds people are actually in the fairway is pretty light here. So I did a combination of accuracy, good drives gains, distance from the edge of the fairway. I think all of them are really relevant. What was your lean here for how to approach off the tee?
I don't know. If you want to do distance from edge, we did that a little last week, which wasn't bad. But I mean, accuracy, good drives percentage, because again, that's going to take into account, like, not did they find the fairway, which is a binary stat, yes, no, but did they find did they find a spot where they're able to find the green from there? And yeah, Mike. Yeah. Green is good. Green is good in this case, as far as, we're not sorting by average right now. We're just looking at rank, but it just ranks each player according to those whatever conditions we're filtering from 1 to whatever 144. Red is rough.
Red not good.
Red. A guy like Aaron Rye, who I thought was a decent long shot last week, but yeah, if you spray it here, you're gonna be in trouble, because these greens are hard to find from the fairway.
Yep. You get familiar names here like Aaron Rye, Bryce Garnett is playing some decent golf, Doug Gim, both looking at conjunction of driving accuracy, edge of the fairway, good drives percentage. I think these are all, I like to see the outliers to see where someone's getting a bump for it, because like you said, like, accuracy is really noisy. You could just be off, and that's a yes, no, versus you're barely off versus, I'm like, look at Ryan Palmer, right? 15th in driving accuracy. Distance from the edge of the fairway, 93. So when Palmer misses, he is wayward. He's in these pines and these big old trees. So I think it's an interesting stat. So I'll go good drives. I think
that's where it's fun just to look at this, and not
for
saying
sure.
You have to take something and add it to a model. It's good to be able to look at stats next to each other like that, where, hey, your accuracy is this, but your distance from the edge of the fairway isn't great. So, because sometimes a guy can hit a ton of fairways, but it's all, just maybe whatever smaller sample you're looking at. It's like, well, he's never center cut though. It's always near the edge. It's always just, like, hey, this guy is maybe not actually that good. He's just been lucky with, another foot. 7 more of those drives would have been in the fringe or the rough.
Yeah, Keith Mitchell kind of pops there in that as well, where accuracy is down a little bit this year, and when he's missing a little bit more than normal. So yeah, it's definitely, like Andy said, it's called the rabbit hole for a reason. Very, very easy to go down and just start looking at stuff. Doesn't mean everything has to be added to the model or anything like that, but yeah, you can. I'll show you something here in a little bit that I think is interesting that we might not model, but I found it to be curious. All right. Anything else off the tee? I added good drives.
No, I think that's fine.
Okay. And again, it's up to you when you're doing it. There's, again, multiple ways to skin the cat, as we say. You can do whatever you'd like to do, add as few as you like. I'd be careful with adding too many of these filters. We always touch on this. I think it's really important advice. You start to really overfit and give yourself a noisy data set that is not, you're going to have to go back to like 4 or 5 years to get relevant data. So I would do 1 or 2 of these at a time, max, look at it, see if you want to add it and then go from there versus really starting to look at, all right, this is difficult and very difficult scoring conditions with an average field, par 71 on poetry of greens. Like you're not going to give yourself anything that's really relevant there.
If you do that, you might as well just go to the courses and click Copperhead
1000%.
last year.
Yeah.
Last thing, I guess, I don't know what else you had, but around the green was more difficult last year. I've seen that a couple times. Ron wrote about it. I think it needs to be addressed when I'm putting this model together because they tightened up the rough as far as how close it was to some of the greens. The rough is nice and tall.
Yep.
And being in that, I mean, it was a sizable difference between the scrambling percentage from last year and in years past. So it got a lot tougher around the green. I think we do need to put something in for that. I don't know if we need to put a lot of splits into it. It might just be, around the green. We could pull that menu up and see what we have for options.
Yeah, I mean, you could just do scrambling from the rough.
Scrambling percentage from the rough, because there's going to be very little scrambling, if at all, that's not going to be from the rough. I'm trying to think if I need to do like the flyover video to see what we have for like aprons, fairway aprons and not. But if you're scrambling, it's most likely going to be from the rough. So let's add that.
Okay. Scrambling from the rough we'll add. We're going to go back. I want to add some more approach stuff. I think that's kind of have it in a few different ways, but I think some more specific approach stuff could be useful. I think we're in kind of a spot too where like we did with the 2024 data, some like recent form stuff, who's actually really dialed in right now versus whose baseline is really strong. You mess around with the weights there, but I think, capturing again, if you're going to double count anywhere, we always say double count approach, because you're just anywhere that you'd rather have be a little bit heavy. I think it is the stickiest of the stats and the most relevant, typically from a week in, week out standpoint to success. So what do you think? Mess around, just add some stroke skin approach stuff, or what are you thinking here?
Yeah, greens and reg, going for the green, whatever you want.
Well, we added the greens and reg. Let me see here. Pop this up. We have greens and reg on less than driver. So I'm going to add just straight up stroke skin approach. Let's say 36 rounds. So kind of a middle long-term / recent form. And I got a 16 round filter on there to kind of suss out any of the really small stuff. So approach last 36. Those are some familiar names and some names that I think belong there, near the top. So putting. You want to do a little bit of poetry, or are we skipping it? We're just like
straight up skip. I mean, you can put something in, give it like 5%, just to drag some guys down. Yeah, poetry putting.
Poetry, and we'll go. Let's see, last 2 years, last 36 rounds or so. See if we can get a decent sample. How many guys do we get there? 85 of the guys. Okay, that's not too bad. We'll knock this in, see if we get anything. Nope, still same sample. That's okay. All right. Scoring. Anything you want to do in scoring? Par fives are obviously a pretty massive thing this week. You got to be able to make some hay there. Do you want to do scoring specifically or par five efficiency? What are your thoughts?
We got a lot in there already. I don't want to go too nuts, but I mean, you can do par five efficiency.
You want birdies or you want average?
You're going to be pretty close. Obviously, some of the guys who are.
Yep.
Man.
It's always confirmation bias for me. It's like, all right, where are the guys that I'm looking for? Oh, there they are. His number's small. They're there. Okay.
Yeah. See, somebody who's able to attack it with length is the two numbers aren't going to be quite the same, but let's just go birdies are better. Let's make it a true scoring.
Yep.
Not just because I don't want a guy who's like, hey, I'm pretty good at par five average. I want a guy who's pretty good at scoring on par five.
Scoring on him. Yep. All right, cool. That should be enough, right? Anything else you want to add?
Mash it together.
Okay.
Look at all that. Jeepers.
Yep. Andy and Noonan betting.
And yeah, if you're listening, obviously it's harder to see, but if you're watching, this is going to go in as an expert model. If you want to scroll through this entire thing and look at it later, like we said, the membership, the subscription, you can go click on any of the expert models and look at the whole damn thing. So if you want to view this later on, and zoom in and sort around whatever you can too.
Yeah.
What was our anchor then? Just the TD green at the top, 20, 25. Where you at? We got a lot to go around though.
Yeah, that's okay. I think, these are, let's do 20. I think 20 for both these tops two. That's a lot. We have something coming soon that'll do the math for you, and you'll won't have to do what we do here on the show and make sure we don't get it kicked back at us. Greens and reg on less than driver. You think 10?
Yeah, the more granular, the less I want to use it.
Yeah.
Whereas, just and not only that, but we're going to be double counting a little bit because we have approach in there as well.
Yeah, I just think it's important to get a bump. So we're at 50, 60, 70, 90. Perfect. Look at this.
Which I'm fine with it being high, but yeah, you have TD green, you have ball striking, good drive percentage, approach, and greens and regulation. Like there is a lot of approach, which again is fine.
Yeah, you can see you can save as many as you possibly want. Working in the back end to make sure that you can run old models. You want to have rolling models for form or driving or approach or anything like that. Where it should update with the current field and be able to run anything evergreen, which should be something that we have done here for you soon. So let's take a look. We'll save and generate this, and let's see what it spits out. Is it going to be Finau? Is it going to be Xander? Is it going to be a surprise?
It's going to be Doug Gim.
Ooh, okay.
Killer Keith. Oh my gosh. I used Keith as the thumbnail. I saw that.
So it's good. It worked out.
Xander, obviously. I mean, Xander's 11,000 in DFS, guys.
That's pretty good.
He better be near the top. Keith Mitchell, Brian Harmon, obviously some great long-term form.
Can hang with the big boys, Andy.
Yeah,
you can hang with the big boys.
Short-term and long-term form. Cam Young, not burning money on that. Tony Finau, 5th. Aaron Rye, despite it all, number 6. Doug Gim, who I mentioned. Lucas Glover, JT, and Keegan Bradley are your top 10. From there, it's Dom and Vegas. Grayson Sig, multiple-time winner here, Sam Burns. Jordan Spieth finally makes his presence known at number 15. Then Davis Thomas, Akshay, Minwoo Lee, Ryan Moore, and Canadian Nick Taylor. Not a bad top 20. No. Obviously, Xander being in the top isn't super surprising. Are any of these guys in your betting, in your open bets right now?
They are. There are some guys here. I have multiple bets on guys here in the top 10. One, absolutely not surprising whatsoever. I get the chat borderline frustrated with me at this point because we cannot continue to go back week after week to Keegan Bradley. That's what they say, Andy. They keep saying you can't go back to Keegan Bradley week after week, but I keep clicking the button on Keegan Bradley. So I want to show you something here, and here's part of why I have gone there a little bit. And I thought this was really interesting. Thinking about how this course has changed and what matters here. And again, Keegan didn't play last year, but was tied for the lead after 3 rounds with Sam Burns the year prior, finished solo second. So he's been here and he's figured it out a little bit. These approach shots are coming in from far, and these greens are harder to hold. I think there's something to be said for club head speed, ball speed, apex height to be able to hold the greens here a little bit. Now, that always, I think regardless of what my sample size here is, I can click on this and I'm going to get Keegan Bradley. Yeah, he's apex height. He can hit them high and holds the green. That works out really well. I want to look at this here. You look at years past. Let's look at 2023 real quick before I share my other bets. And let's look at apex height. We'll search some guys out. Again, last year, Keegan topped in the field. Sam Burns, again, this kind of correlates a little bit with some guys that have had some success here. You got to be able to hold these greens. Davis Riley played well here in the past, 13th. That, again, kind of checks out. Scrolling down. When I get to Tony Finau, He's 36th in apex height. Club head speed, ball speed, 21st, 23rd. No, fine. Middle of the pack. Maybe a little bit better than that. If I go to 2024, it looks like there is a deliberate change that we're doing here from a club head speed, ball speed stuff from Finau. And this is correlated with some outstanding ball striking, right? It's just been the putter. The putter's been bad. He is now inside the top 12 for all three of these metrics. And, apex is higher. That's kind of correlated here with the ball speed and the club head speed. So that I found to be very interesting, digging into it a little bit here this week, which I think is a little bit of a relevant stat. Again, not something we've added to the model. I didn't add to my model, but just as a little bit of a tell, I think there might be something there in terms of what we're going to see needed for success here in the kind of the new design of Copperhead. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds like you talking yourself into Keegan, but I mean, you're right.
And Finau.
Yeah.
Yep. Because that's what I did, Andy. I talked myself into Keegan and Finau. I took 27 on Finau. He gained strokes putting at Sawgrass. It was almost exclusively in one round, but that's better than anything else he's been doing because it's been a unmitigated disaster. Also very curious to me that he was the only eligible top guy that skipped Bay Hill and put this on his schedule.
Yeah.
And that, again, I am grasping for straws a little bit. I had already clicked it, but then I was like, well, wait a second. Why would he have done that? The Windhorse stuff. Why would he do that? Why would he come here and not go to Bay Hill? So 27, I thought was, off market at Caesars where everything else is mostly 20. I'm seeing Chris has a 28 and change, which is a pretty nice Finau number. And yeah, I'm a sucker for Keegan. So those are my, I guess, top two. But Keegan's 55, Andy. We're not shooting at 30 on Keegan. 55. I played a 45 and then moved to 55. I took a little bit more. So how about you? Anyone at the top of our model or any bets near the top for you this week?
Just Harman. Harman is the guy. Okay. There was 25s out there. I just felt like it was still a little disrespectful for a major winner and a guy who played as well as he did last week and could have won one of the biggest events on tour. So I think it's 2022 get him in the market. I'd still bet it if you could find 2250, something like that. But I did take Harman, and that was really the only guy that interests me near the top. I get Sam Burns, but the price is awful short. Xander's price is awful short for a guy who can't slam the door on a Friday. JT has been better, but I'm not interested in JT and Jordy at those prices. So anyone near the top, it's going to be Harman for me. I can't get behind Sung Jae right now. Finau, again, yeah, but it was one round. If Finau's putting yips continue at even 50% of the rate, it's just he's not going to win events. So
it's wild. I remember this time last year he became an awesome putter. He'd be that was just heading into the Masters. It was man, this guy's been putting like crazy because this has been a problem in years past. So he's been so hot and cold. He's very streaky. And yeah, I am definitely I'm weighing one really good round way too much. But the rest of it is so damn good. This is kind of the old, this is junior Scotty basically, right? The ball striking is so damn good. And if you can hang around field average and you can compete. So I like the 27 more than anything. So I'm kind of with you. Everyone else is maybe a little too short. It's good to see Nick Taylor and Harman priced properly. Nick Taylor was 170 last week for a little bit, in the early odds that came out on the weekend prior when we were still at Bay Hill, Harman at 150. We're maybe overcorrected to have these guys down, sub 30 or so. But I don't know. Nick Taylor wins and competes fairly often now. He should not be 150 at any event. So the other guys here don't really excite me.
Good.
Doug Gim, it's short. They don't excite me very much.
No. Doug Gim's a big price guy I can bet at a bigger event to top 10. But yeah, if you just strictly look at lesson drive over the last couple of years, Harman's numbers are sick. Mm-hmm. He's first, second, third in almost all the big categories. Otherwise, I went kind of bomb hunting after that. Sam Ryder and Mav McNeely. Mav, you know, maybe the irons are gonna let me down here, but current form is better than what we've seen. Short-term form is great. The approach game has been a little rough, but and maybe we can find it here where he's been pretty good off the tee. So if he's great off the tee, maybe it just improves the irons because everything else is solid. His around the green, his short game is so good. So he has that he can finish these holes. He just has to find these greens. We'll see when we get there. Then Ryder, the off the tee numbers aren't great, but if you do start to sort by less than driver courses again, like I did with Harmon, he just happened to be in my favorite still. There's a big difference. Like he does take a big jump up. So I took those guys. You can get, you should be able to find damn near 100 on Ryder, 80 to 100. It's all over the board. McNeely's going to be 60 to 70. So not bombs, but bomb-ish. So I took those guys. That's the whole card so far.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I went off the board a little bit with one guy. I think it's not for everyone. I understand why people would have absolutely no interest in doing this, because it hasn't been great. Let's get fun with sample size. Like we got a guy that didn't play in 2023. He has not played very well in 2024. But if we're just looking here, 2020, 2021, 2022, Daniel Berger, third in the field, strokes gained total, strokes gained tee to green.
I looked at it.
He's 80, Andy. I think he's 83 at Chris. Florida kid. Think about where we would play Daniel Berger in the past. Positional golf courses. Yeah, places where he's not going to be punished for his, punitive distance stuff. Just fairway finder, nice long approach player, can scramble, can putt. So, look, I get it. You're not going to look at anything in the 2024 profile and be like, yeah, I'm super stoked about Daniel Berger. Hasn't been great. He's missed 3 of the 5 cuts in 3 of the 5 events he's played in. So it's all just on the past. I'm showing you what that past looks like, but it's 80. I feel like that's baked into the number comparatively. So Berger was another click for me, and those are still out there. So obviously it wasn't something that like everyone was jumping on and being like, hey, we got to get Berger at 80. He's been pretty terrible, to be honest. But yeah, I like the number, and yeah, that was the other play for me there that I like. So that's it. Fun with the rabbit hole.
Berger's a nice one. I don't hate it. Fun question. Not even terribly gambling related, although I have bet and will continue to bet on the Champions Tour. Dark Sage here. Curious what the Champions Tour will look like once Tiger Woods joins it. I wonder if he ever plays a Champions event.
I'm curious on that as well.
Because of just the way his body has been treating him for the last 5-10 years. I think maybe once he gets to a point where he says, I can no longer play on the PGA Tour, it's not because he can't compete with those guys. It's because his body will not let him golf. And he may just never play an event in the Champions League. He has his hand in all these projects, the Pop Golf, the TG, the team golf project he has with Rory. Like, I wonder if he's just gonna, go play a few major events as I'll go play the Masters if I think I can walk it here and there, and that might just be it. We might never see him play after he turns, 50 something.
It is 3 rounds. It's a little different out there for those guys. They manage it a little bit different. Yeah, but I'm with you. I think there's also so much damn ego and pride that I would not be surprised that he's just like, yeah, it's just I'm gonna let my friends kind of get some wins that I stole from them. Let them get some prize money. I can make it elsewhere. So I'll be interested to see. It'll be amazing. I mean, I can imagine there will be weeks where if he's playing, like they could pull numbers that would top PGA Tour events, depending on the field that week. So people love Tiger, man. It is Tiger.
He said he would do it. I just wonder if he can.
Yeah,
they do let you have cards. They don't have cards at the majors. But they let you have cards. They have for like 15 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. If I'm the Champions Tour, I'm changing the rules to whatever it takes to get him to come play.
1000%.
For sure. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, if you watched on the YouTube, hit us with a thumbs up. If you didn't, encourage you to join us if you struggled a little bit by not being able to see the actual the modeling we did on screen. If you have any questions, like I said, you can DM us at BetSports Golf on Twitter, at AndyMSFW, at RY Noonan, at PGA Splits 101. BetSportsGolf.com is going to have some articles and links right there to show you what the price plans are. If you did want to take advantage of that, do some of your own modeling, or check out the expert models that are up on the site from Noonan, from us, from Ron, from Andy Lack, from Vicenzi. Like everybody's got their expert models up for the week that you can take a look at right now. So for me, for Noonan, for everyone here, we'll catch you next week for the Texas Children's Houston Open in Houston.
I think Scotty's going to be there.
Maybe.
Yeah.